another week of Imagination Time Machine. Whenever we step inside the Imagination Time Machine, we can imagine where we can go, anywhere and any when. Today we're going to be traveling back in time to Bible times to experience the first-hand what it was like to be an Israelite living in the Promised Land. Imagine you're wondering what in the world I'm doing. You see, I've been trying to juggle for the longest time, but I can't seem to do it. That's the wonderful thing about your imagination, though. When you use your imagination, you can do just about anything. Here, let me show you. So, let's all imagine we're juggling 3 balls. Super easy. How about 5? Well, a little bit harder. How about 10? Whoa! We have to go faster. Then cannonballs. Oh, I don't want these to fall on my feet. And then fireballs. And then porcupines. Ow. Oh. Then snakes. Ah! Okay, I probably shouldn't have imagined that. I forgot that I'm afraid of snakes. Is there anything that you are afraid of or that freaks you out? Pause the video and tell your family.
Those can be some pretty freaky things, but in today's true Bible story, we're gonna find out that maybe we don't need to be quite so scared of those things. Speaking of the story, you should probably get started. So I want you all to find a quiet place that you can maybe even turn off the lights, you can grab a blanket, away from any distractions as we use our imagination and go and hang out with Max. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Max. I'll be your guide in the ITM. That stands for Imagination Time Machine. There are some rules you need to follow for a safe trip in the ITM. First, close your eyes when I tell you to, and don't open them until I tell you to. The ITM projects in the darkness. If you open your eyes, its projection system shuts down. Second, follow my imagination instructions closely so you don't get lost. I'm setting the imagination destination right now. Location, the city of Jerusalem. Time, 1405 BC. A year after Jericho is defeated. Alrighty then. This would be a good time to close your eyes and imagine you're rocketing through time and space. Brace yourself. We're coming in for a landing. Imagine yourself stepping out of the ITM and into the massive throne room of a beautiful palace. Imagine what the throne room looks like. Quick, hide! Someone is coming. Imagine that the giant throne room doors open as 5 kings enter the room with urgency. Can you hear their heavy footsteps as they rush into the room? They seem upset. Something big is going on. Quietly move closer to hear what they're saying.
The nation of Israel must be stopped. Word has it that their God has promised to give this land to them. But curse them and their God. Jerusalem will be theirs over my dead body.
How could any one of our nations defeat Israel? Have you not heard how their God fights for them? If the city of Jericho with its giant walls couldn't stop them, then how can we?
We are 5 nations, but they are only one. If we band together, they won't stand a chance against us.
I hear the nation of Gibeon has already made a peace treaty with Israel. Maybe we should too.
Or maybe we should teach those traitors from Gibeon a lesson. Our 5 nations will fight as one, and we will destroy Gibeon right before we destroy Israel.
Later on, many miles away, a man named Joshua stands in a large tent, leaning over a map with his army commanders. Joshua is the warrior leader of Israel, chosen by God to bring his people into the Promised Land. Imagine what he looks like. Imagine what he's wearing, the sword at his side. Can you hear his voice as he strategizes with his commanders? Suddenly, a man rushes into the tent.
Joshua, my lord, I come to you from Gibeon. The 5 Amorite kings have joined armies and have attacked us for making peace with you. Please, we need your help.
Eager to help out, Joshua and his commanders rush from the tent to ready their army. Quick, follow him. In no time, the army of Israel is in formation and marching toward Gibeon. Imagine you've snuck into the ranks of the marching men. What do you see? What does it sound like? Although Joshua is quick to help the people of Gibeon, he fears being outnumbered by the 5 armies. He also senses the fear among his warriors. Move in close to Joshua and listen to what he says to his men.
I know that they are 5 nations, and we are only one. But listen to what the Lord has told me. Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you. Not one of them will be able to fight against you and win.
The Israelites have faith that God is with them, and it pushes their fear away. They march boldly through the night and take the 5 armies by surprise. Imagine the sound of battle horns blowing. Imagine the army of Israel rushing into battle with a great shout. Now imagine the sound of swords clashing. When the Israelites charge forward, God fills the faithless 5 armies with fear, and they run away in a panic. But they don't get far. Imagine the sky filling with dark clouds as God throws giant hailstones down on them. As the sun begins to set, though, the remaining enemy soldiers are close to escaping into the darkness. Joshua knows that if they get away, they'll be back to fight another day. So he prays to God for a miracle.
Almighty God, make the sun stand still over Gibeon and stop the moon in its tracks.
Imagine the surprise in the eyes of the 5 armies when the sun stands still in the sky for a full day and there is no darkness to escape into. Imagine the sun lighting up the battlefield until every one of the 5 armies has been totally defeated. Can you hear the men of Israel shouting in celebration? Quick, we should get back to the ITM before someone discovers that we don't belong here. Imagine yourself stepping into the ITM and strapping into your seat. Destination, present day. We'll be arriving home in 3, 2, 1. You can open your eyes now.
This is one of my favorite Bible stories. Let's answer our big Bible story question. What was your favorite part of the story to imagine? And how did you imagine it? And why do you think God told Joshua not to be afraid? So answer those questions with your family. Don't forget to pause the video. Earlier
earlier, Preston asked you what kind of things you're afraid of. Did anyone say they were afraid of being outnumbered by 5 ferocious armies?
I don't think so. But if you were Joshua, I'll bet you would have said that right away. When Joshua and the army of Israel started to feel afraid, what did God say to them?
He said, "Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you." The army of Israel had faith in God's power. So when fear attacked, it didn't even put a dent in them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you look at these 2 water bottles, one is the 5 armies. It's huge. And the other one represents the army of Israel. The one that's huge, there's actually no faith in them at all. The one that is smaller, the Israel army, you can't see it, but it's filled with faith in God. When fear attacked the 5 armies, let us show you what happened. It crushed them. It crushed them and they ran away. But when fear attacked the army of Israel, it didn't even put a dent in them, and they fought bravely.
God saved the army of Israel from their fears, and He saves us from our fears too. In fact, that's what our Bible verse for today says. Let's take a look at it together. I looked to the Lord, and He answered me. He saved me from everything I was afraid of. Psalm 34:4.
Fear attacks all of us sometimes. Sometimes we're afraid of things like snakes, but sometimes we're afraid of even bigger things like losing your friends or being made fun of or nightmares or even death. Remember though, when you have faith in God and look to Him, He can save you from your fears. God has the power to pour hail down from the clouds. He has power to make the sun stand still in the sky, and He has the power to stop fear from crushing you. God has the power over all things. So we can battle our fear with faith in Him.
Whee! I want you to close your eyes and imagine one last thing. Imagine that you're facing your fear, but you're not alone. Jesus is standing right next to you, holding your hand. Imagine that He leans over to you and whispers in your ear. He says, "Do not be afraid. I am with you." Now, imagine your fears fading away until it's gone. That's what happened when we put our faith in Jesus. Please spend time and reflect more with your go-home guide. Pray it, journal it, read it, and draw it.
We'll see you next week as we go into another week of Imagination Time Machine.
Bye!